Braids are not protective. It's an installation style. So you're installing braids in your hair, and it's a high tension installation style. It's not a protective style.
Welcome to Curly Not Sorry, our unapologetic channel where we debunk and demystify all of the misinformation that's on the internet about curly hair, and we teach you how to properly take care of your curls. I'm your curl specialist, Devin. Let's play a little bit of that clip again.
So what is a protective style?
A protective style would be if you took your hair and you twisted it or you braided it. That would be a protective style because your hair is tucked away. You're not putting the weight of additional hair. I was just telling a lady at Essence Fest, she had the braids in, and I was like, putting those braids in, they were long, like, to her waist. It's like weights on your follicle. Just think of putting little half a pound weights on those follicles. Would you want that on your follicle? Even if you had to hold a 5-pound weight for a month in your hand, wouldn't your arm feel tired? Wouldn't you be like, I got to get rid of this weight? That's what your follicles are telling you. Like that weight needs to be taken off.
Let's talk about this, y'all. This episode is probably going to piss a few of you off, and it's completely understandable. Now, y'all came for her in the comments, like hardcore, and people that I know were in the comments coming for this woman because she is kind of condemning protective styles. And now don't come for me. Do not come for me, please. But I kind of agree with most of what she's saying. Now, there's a reason behind it, though. It's because most people aren't doing protective styles properly, meaning that the hairstylists that do protective styles as services are not executing them in a way that's safe for your hair. And the people that are wearing them are also not wearing them in ways that are safe for their hair. So let's dive into this a little bit. First and foremost, what is a protective style? For those of you that don't know. A protective style, well, the definition of protective style has changed over the years because different stylists now really are honing in on what it means to protect your hair. So different stylists have different definitions for the term. But typically, historically, the meaning behind protective style is your hair is tucked away in a style so that it is protected from the everyday wear and tear that we put our hair through. That means brushing. That means, all the detangling, all the pulling it up, even just environmental factors that could potentially damage your hair. Some examples of protective styles are braids, obviously, faux locks, twists. Now, sew-ins and wigs are also protective styles where your hair is completely tucked away, completely covered. And some add hair, some braid and twist their hair on their own, like flat twists or cornrows, and that's no extensions whatsoever. Can you put extensions in cornrows? Absolutely. But, and this isn't to say that everybody's doing it wrong. It's just that there are ways that it could be done that are actually protective of your hair. Let's talk about that a little bit. So some examples of a protective style are braids, obviously, faux locks, weaves, wigs, twists. A lot of these require added hair, and a lot of these are just tucking the hair away entirely. So let's talk about some of the most common mistakes made when it comes to wearing protective styles. The first one is wearing them too long. I made a video about this on my Instagram maybe a year or so ago, but most of my clients that talk to me about wearing their protective styles, and a lot of people that I have spoken to in the past about this, are wearing their protective styles for over a month. I know people that will get braids and wear it the entire summer. That is far too long. Protective styles are really only meant to be worn for about 3 or 4 weeks at a time. So the longer that you have your hair tucked away, the less moisture it's receiving, because a lot of the times people, when they have their hair in protective styles, aren't even washing their hair. They're not washing their scalp, and your hair isn't accessible. So it's not receiving any moisture. It does have that added hair, those extensions. And so people often think that if they spray like a leave-in conditioner onto the braids, that it will help the actual hair. If your hair is tucked away in the way that your hair typically is for protective styles, that isn't really reaching it. It's really just kind of on the surface, which means that those extensions are the things that are getting all of that moisture. Your actual hair isn't really receiving much of that. The second thing is wearing them too tight. And mind you, this isn't always the client's fault. A lot of the times this is on the braider, because braiders, of course, want those beautiful clean partings and lines in their styles, and you want them too as the customer, but the braids are done too tight, and that's pulling at the follicle in your scalp. And if that happens for long enough, repeatedly, that can cause what's called traction alopecia. And that's when the follicle is pulled out so many times that it just stops regrowing hair. And that's when you see people who have really far back receding hairlines, especially here in the sides. Not to mention, the hair in your hairline is the finest and most fragile a lot of the times. Now, for people who have much coarser hair, they can handle a little bit more, but still that repeated tension is going to cause issues later down the line. Third is the products being used when braiding your hair. Braiding gel a lot of the time is actually meant to be used on wet hair. It's not actually meant to be used on dry hair. And when you use it on dry hair, it creates a lot more traction, which is why they use it that way, because it smooths the hair down a lot, but it's also causing more of that tension and again leading to that traction alopecia. A lot of these braiding gels are also very drying. They have a lot of alcohol in them. Their alcohol content is very high, which means that it's drying out the hair around your hairline as well. And it's going to cause breakage on top of that traction alopecia. Lastly, the added hair. Now, this is kind of new information for me, so let me know if it's new information for you. But there's been some recent studies and testing done on our braiding hair, and there are really high concentrations of lead in our braiding hair. And a lot of you are probably going, well, I use human hair. I don't use that other stuff, the Cancolon, everybody calls it something different. I don't actually know how that's pronounced. But oddly enough, it was the human hair, the human braiding hair, that tested the highest in lead content. Now, there are brands out there that you can use that don't have all of that in it, or that have much lower amounts of that in it. There's one brand in particular that I've actually been really curious about called Rebundle. Their hair is plant-based, and the only lead, they recently came out with a statement saying that the only lead traces that were found in their hair were because of the soil that the plants that their hair is derived from grow in. So it's kind of unavoidable, and it's like a millionth of a percentage of lead or something like that. You can go straight to their Instagram, and there's a post about it, because they wanted to be really transparent about it. So that's the biggest thing, is you want to look for those brands that are really transparent, but do keep in mind that you want to be paying attention to what kind of hair you're using. A lot of the synthetics cause irritation on the scalp. And I know personally, when I've used synthetic hair in the past, I broke out in a rash at my neck because it just caused a lot of irritation. Not to mention that tension and the braiding gel that was being used on my scalp as well. Now that I've said all of that, and you all are like, oh, does this mean that I can't get my protective styles ever? No, that's not what it means. You just have to be smart about it. Number one, do your research. Find a braider, which this is kind of hard to do, I do admit, but find a braider who is willing to work with low tension braids, so that way it's not causing so much tension at your scalp and eventually leading to traction alopecia. 2, if you're not supplying the hair yourself, make sure that the braider that you are working with is also using hair that is appropriate, that has been tested, and has a good reputation. If you're providing it yourself, maybe look into brands like Rebundle. Third, consider styles that don't necessarily require adding hair. You can do a twist out or cornrows or a braid out in your own hair and not have to add all of that extra stuff, and it's still cute, it's still beautiful. There's not necessarily a need to add all of that hair. Because the other thing that is also mentioned in this video that people kind of came for this lady for is oftentimes the weight of the hair is what's causing a lot of that tension as well, not just the tightness of the braids. And last, take longer breaks between your protective styles. Now, I've had a lot of clients come to me and tell me that they went into braids, wore it for 2 months, took them out, got braided again, took them out, got braided again. That gives your scalp no break, and it gives your hair no break in between. You need to be moisturizing your hair in between, getting trims. Otherwise, all you're protecting is split ends. Also, you need to give your scalp a little bit of a break so that it can recover from all of that tension. And if you're not doing that, then the result ends up being you go to your stylist and your hair is breaking and your scalp is feeling a bit more exposed because you're losing some of your hair. Also, try wearing your braids 3 to 4 weeks at a time. I know that it's expensive to get braids. I understand that a lot goes into it. It takes a long time. But if you really want to protect your hair, if that's really the purpose of why you're getting these protective styles in the first place, you need to not be wearing them for so long, and you need to take longer breaks in between. I hope that didn't piss all of you off too much. Please don't come for me, but if you have something to say, if you have any questions, if you have any comments at all, please let me know in the comments. If you found this useful, please share it with another curly person. And thank you for coming to Curly Not Sorry. I'll see you next time.